Hello and welcome to Dune Does DVD, and this is Disney Classics number 43, Brother Bear. Now, as I have already discussed, there are plenty of the Disney Classics which it turns out I have never seen, but there are only a small number which I have never even heard of. But this week, and also next week, are two of those. The title and the poster give me very little to go on in terms of expectations, other than, I guess it must be about some bears. The tagline of Nature Calls doesn't really tell me anything, unless this is about bears going to the toilet, but I'm guessing that's probably not the case. So all I can guess about this is it's probably some kind of generic adventure about a family of bears. I guess maybe if nature is calling, they are, captive bears that are trying to escape. But who knows, could be something completely different. Still, given that I've not heard of this one, which means that it's not one that gets particularly talked about much, that means it's probably not all that great. And so my expectations for this one are decidedly on the low side. So there's very little else I can say in terms of introduction for this one, so let's just get on with watching it and find out what it's actually all about. Well, as is often the case when you go into something with low expectations, I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. Now, it's not up there with the greats either, but it is above the middle. And I guess that's probably the reason why I haven't really heard much about it, is that it's so like towing that middle ground that it doesn't get the eternal praise, but it doesn't get the controversy either. It's just kind of forgotten about and average. Now at this point, it's probably not really fair to say that, Disney has a particular style because they've been through all sorts of different mediums and styles and covered all sorts of different stories. But if you consider what I guess is the Disney stereotype, then this is actually a lot closer to it than anything else we've had recently. We've got much more standard looking animation, at least the more modern style with a, computer assisted. We've got music back, in fact Phil Collins again. He apparently enjoyed doing Tarzan so much he wanted to do more. And obviously in the past the different composers and songwriters have worked on multiple films. This might actually be the first time that someone has sang on multiple films. Although unlike Tarzan, Phil Collins is mostly just the writer here, with a lot of the songs having other different guest singers. And generally the story seems to fit a bit more of the typical Disney themes. In this case, sort of love and brotherhood. What I was surprised to see about this story, especially after the title of the film and the bear-themed poster, is how many humans there are actually in this film. We have another film that's technically set in the actual real world, real America again, although unlike, say, Pocahontas, this one is actually an original story, but sort of, based on Inuit legends. So we have a tribe of, recently post-Ice Age Inuits. There's a boy there who's growing up to be a man and, has to go on a journey and figure out what that's all about. And in the process, with their various spirit guides, gets turned into a bear. It happens in the first act, so it's only a small spoiler to say that, the main bear in this is actually a human-turned bear, which is not what I expected for this story at all. But obviously that makes it way more interesting as a story than, just some anthropomorphized bear adventure. And then, that's a fun world, animals can't talk to humans, but they can all talk to each other cross species. So as well as our main character bears, you've also got a couple of Canadian moose as, your comic relief characters. And the bears and the moose go on a journey and meet all sorts of other interesting animals along the way. What I did find slightly interesting though is all the bears are going to gather at this salmon run for a big party. And when you get there, there's a load of bears all, catching and eating salmon and having a fun party and dance and song. But in this world where all the animals can talk to each other and interact, for some reason the salmon don't say anything. For some reason the salmon are only there for food. They're not screaming, "Please don't eat me," every time a bear picks one up. It seems a little hand-wavy and a bit convenient. But admittedly, especially given the amount of salmon the bears eat in this film, that would have been a bit grim if they let on that the salmon were also sentient. And so that's about all there is to say about this one. It's got some lovely animation. It's got songs at the end, but some are definitely better than others. And it's got a story which is, interesting enough, but doesn't really go anywhere particularly surprising with it. You will likely be able to figure out what's going to happen before the end. But still, if you're interested in Disney and haven't seen this one, I would say it's worth a look. What are your thoughts on this one? Tell me about those in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next week with Home on the Range.